Well, good afternoon, everybody. As you can probably tell, I do have a little bit of my cold left. It's affected my voice, but I can assure you I feel a lot better, and I think I've turned the corner to returning to my health. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about your homework assignments. You guys have done a really good job with your homework assignments. I've gotten the assignment 1-1 on the Smarter Measure. Most of them have been graded. I've also gotten the assignments for the blogs just about done. And then, so I'm going to be working on 1-4, which is your essay on the differences between a vocation and an occupation. And so we'll start to look at that. I did already have a question regarding week 2, and that was that one of your peers had asked about, when I looked at the videos kind of gave me what do I do, how do I do something, and then the book reading talks a little bit about plagiarism and how do I keep myself out of hot water. I just want to touch on that just a little bit. I want you to know that the videos that we provided you last week were to help you so that you can properly format quotations within your paper. So make sure, and sometimes it's easier when you see somebody do it, it's easier than to say, oh, that's what it meant when I read this, or that's what it means when I read this on a website, how to do proper quotation. The book talks about plagiarism. Plagiarism is a big issue, and it's one of the things that we're touching on this week. And what we want you to be aware of is that there are different ways to plagiarize, and we want to try to keep you out of hot water. And the biggest rule of thumb that you could probably use, if you think you've used an author's ideas, even if you've used your own words, it's better to quote and make sure that you cite that reference than to have your teacher question whether or not it's actually your own words or not. It's not just me that you have to worry about. It is also, going on in your academic studies and making sure that you know how to properly cite. So when you're paraphrasing, you're taking the ideas that an author presents and you're putting it into your own words. The ideas are still the author, so you need to make sure that you go ahead and put that, cite that author. And just so you're aware, the definitive authority on how to properly work with citations and quotations will be your book. So make sure that you are able to do your work, or when you do your work, always you can always bounce it back to your book to see what the book tells you to do. Okay, let's go on and talk a little bit more about this week in our objectives. We're looking at how to express how to be effective in your work through time management and prioritization of responsibilities. Many of you, as part of your Smarter Measure, realize that time management is an area that you need to work with. Don't feel bad. All of us have to work on that. So it's just learning how to do it for yourself in a way that feels comfortable for you and works for you. So so we're going to touch a little bit more about that this week. Learn to avoid plagiarism and credit sources. We talked a little bit about that already. And to familiarize and utilize the online library sources. One of the things that we find is that online students may not know how to access the library, how to do a search for papers when they're doing a research project. Some of you who are some of the students that are part of a junior or senior year in school probably already know how to do that online. This is great. It'll just be a big review for you. A lot of you also don't know how to do that just yet. So we have an exercise in there to help you learn how to do that. Reading content, don't forget that once you're done reading, to go ahead and to take the quiz that shows up under the link for the week 2 content report. It's again, it's basically on your honor. It just says that you completed your reading, you completed part of your reading, all of those kinds of things. but it's up to you to do it. It does count as part of your participation grade for the class, so don't forget to take that little quiz. The plagiarism and academic integrity response. You're going to be asked to write a short 2-page paper about how you plan to avoid plagiarism in your ministry. Okay, some of you are planning to be trying to be ministry leaderships. You're getting that, or you're doing your biblical studies to help further you in your studies of the Word of God. And one of the things that we want you to be aware of is that you're setting the standard for people about integrity in your ministry. So how can you do that? One of the ways you can do that is to avoid plagiarism. Also, if you prepare sermons, if you help with doing recordings, that kind of thing, your worship leader, we want to make sure that you understand you still need to cite the appropriate source for where your inspirations may have come from, and that does include the Bible. So that's all part of what we want you to be able to do with this. Now, make sure that as you go through and you talk about summary, paraphrasing, argument, if you bring any of those things into your paper, that you make sure you cite your source for that as well. One of the things I want you to remember is that you do have your success action plan. It is a document. We started on it last. If you remember when you started your Smarter Measure and doing that particular self-assessment, one of the things we say in there is that be aware that it will be part of your success action plan. We didn't really touch on it last week, so I'm going to touch on it just a little bit right now. Your success action plan is part of your final project. Is part of your week 8 final project. And what we are trying to encourage you to do is to look at your success action plan as you start to go through some of these exercises, these assignments. Some of those assignments, you'll take the results of those assignments and you'll put them into the success action plan. It is a document. You can start to fill it out now. Just make sure that as you get your assignments back that you correct any issues that might have been brought to your attention, and then you can just take a section of that and put it right into your success action plan. If you work on it as the weeks goes on, by the time you get to week 8, it's not a big deal. You only have a few sections to finish up when you get to week 8. It'll take so much of the stress off of you to get it done as you go along. So I'm encouraging you to do that. One of the things I want you to note is that we do say that, we do point you exactly to what page you need to go ahead and put this information in. So be sure that you do that. Okay, here we go with the library skills. You'll go in, you'll look at the library, and we want you to respond. This is a journal. This doesn't have to be formatted in MLA formatting. We just want you to respond to the 2 questions. What was the most important thing you learned in the Getting Started lesson, and what important question remains unanswered? And if you have questions like, that you want the librarian to know about as part of this little training, then please do put it in there. I will make sure that she receives it. And then look again. Here we go. We have our success action plan is part of this as well. Make sure that you look at pages 3 and 6, and when you get done with this, it'll be part of that. Finally, we're looking at your discussion board. And the question really comes down to, what do you need to change in order to meet the demands of your academic schedule and your responsibilities? Some of you started to answer that as part of your Smarter Measure, and now you have had time to look at it. Some of your reading will point you back to that as well. So don't forget to look at all of that. Let me see. Is there anything else you need to be aware of? Let's go look at the week 2 resources. Okay. You have a time management worksheet. It can help take you through the process of looking at your workday and see what you can, what you need to do in order to help you realize how busy you are. And then what kind of procrastinator are you? It's an exercise that we take you through. You'll find those 2 worksheets here in the week 2 resources. Okay, I think that's it for this week. If you have any questions, please feel free to get a hold of me. I'm happy to work with you in any way I can. Thanks and have a great afternoon.